Let's bring in Chris Stigall.
He is Chris Stigall.
Chris Stigall.
I'm joined now by Chris Stigall,
host of the Chris Stigall Show.
So let's bring in talk radio host Chris Stigall.
Also, his podcast is a must-listen every day. Chris Stigall Show podcast.
And host of the Chris Stigall Show.
Let's bring in Chris Stigall.
Please welcome Chris Stigall.
The Chris Stigall podcast is presented by usmedicalplan.com. Save big money monthly and get better health coverage at usmedicalplan.com.
Hey there, thanks a lot for downloading the Chris Stigall Show podcast. I know there are many, many podcasts you could choose from, so that you choose us is not a small thing. Thank you. Thanks for the 5-star reviews. Thanks, as always, for your written reviews at Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I want to tell you about my friend in Cincinnati named John Ruhlman. Now, he runs a company called U.S. Medical Plan. And John has been a sponsor of mine and a friend of mine for a long while. And he has gotten calls from this audience, including calls from my own family, calls from colleagues and friends of mine who have shopped with him their current health insurance plan. And he has saved friends and family thousands of dollars, literally. Let me give you for example. I have a friend who bought private health insurance for his family. His daughter had some special health needs that cost him quite a bit of money a month to get premiums covered for all of them. John found him identical coverage and saved him $2,000 a month. That's jaw-dropping money. My parents called John for a supplemental health insurance plan for their Medicare. John saved them $400 a month. Now, every nickel is precious, particularly when you're sitting on an income that you've got to count on for the rest of your days and you're counting your change. $400 is a lot of money. All right, so that's what John can do for you. Or maybe if you have no health insurance at all and you think it's too expensive, I can't afford it right now. He has over 100 different private health insurance companies all over the country that he shops and compares so that he gets you the best rates and never cheats you on coverage, by the way. It doesn't mean it's some scant coverage. Great rates, great coverage. Let John and his team at usmedicalplan.com go to work for you today. You can also call 877-410-4321. 877-410-4321, usmedicalplan.com. Great to be with you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in to this Tuesday edition of the Stigall Show. Hope you're doing well. Hope this finds you well. Got a lot of nice emails yesterday. You people were particularly kind to your host. I appreciate it. Maybe you missed me. I was away fishing for a couple of days. You don't know what you love until it's gone, Fast Eddie. That must be what it is. No, everybody, I was shocked at how very ebullient and this riot business has not upset you even a little bit. In fact, I think most of you are feeling quite confident and quite calm about things. And the big, beautiful bill, the Elon stuff, that all got kind of pushed to the back burner. I think that a lot of you realize exactly what we were talking about yesterday, that if the city that votes for these lunatics is going to allow itself to descend into chaos, and Trump has to be the guy to send in the backup to quell the violence and get the city under control, I think most of us all now accept that that's nothing but upside for him. Trump, think of the visuals here. You get a guy like Gavin Newsom arguing on behalf of people lighting things on fire and waving the Mexican flag. He's arguing and taunting people like Tom Holman and people like Trump, the president of the United States, while our cops and our National Guardsmen are being spat upon, bottles of urine thrown at them, and the American flag burned in the street and all of that stuff. That's the visual. Now, as I posted yesterday on X and I told you on this show, the thing the media is starting to realize is this is very, very bad for the Democrat Party. In fact, yesterday, specifically after the show, I said it this way. Trump is actively baiting leftists into attacking him for restoring order in a lawless major American city. He's actually baiting the left, sending in the Marines now. It's stunning because the more he acts to try to quell their violence, the supposedly more outraged and angry they pretend they are. They're not really, but they think this is an animating issue. But remember, they're accomplices in the media. I didn't make this parallel quite like I wanted to yesterday, and I wished I had, because I'm all the days and months are starting to blend together, and I think most of the campus protests for Hamas were happening prior to the launch of our national show. So a lot of you in this audience that I'm just getting to know didn't hear me talking about this. But back then, when we were being treated to these days of roiling in the streets in Washington, D.C. and on college campuses of supposedly pro-Hamas people, I said to my audience, at least in Philadelphia back then, and those who listen to the podcast and wherever else they streamed, I said, this is not real. Don't lose your minds over this. Don't despair. Don't think the country's being swallowed whole by anti-Israel, Jew-hating, pro-Hamas, pro-Islamist folks. That's not what's real. This is AstroTurf. And I reminded them, just like I did yesterday, I reminded you, Occupy Wall Street and George Floyd and Antifa, Black Lives Matter, it wash, rinse, repeat. This is formulaic now. It's not real. But the thing that I wished I'd remembered to say and make a better comparison about was, do you remember when we got into, I don't know, maybe the second week? It was kind of quaint, and the media was sort of willing to tolerate the pro-Hamas wing for a while, covering the Columbia, the college campus protests, Harvard, and the like. And then we started getting closer to election season. And as we started getting closer to election season, I think the left began to realize this is a really bad look. And by the left, I don't mean the left out in the streets. I mean Jake Tapper, who's been running around peddling a book about Joe Biden and all that he knew that we weren't told. Right. Wink. They started getting very, very nervous. Fast Eddie, do you remember that? I actually talked at length about the fact that the Jake Tappers, the Chuck Todds, the stalwart Democrats on traditional legacy media, they were all starting to get really, remember James Carville? Very cranky. Started getting very angry with the Hamas protesters on the college campuses because they knew what it looked like in the living rooms of millions of voters. Remember when we talked about this?
Absolutely, because it started with Jake Tapper. And it started with James Carville, and then when you said when it got to Mika, you're like, oh boy, this is a problem. I remember that well, yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to go back in the archives to find it, but these people were out of their minds lecturing. So they took to their news channels and they started scolding their viewers. Stop it right now. This is no way to behave. This is not going to, we have an election. They were really starting to freak. I think this time, now that we're 4 days into this chaos and lunacy in Los Angeles, I think you're seeing it faster now. Now, Rachel Maddow says that Donald Trump sending in the Marines and the National Guard is him in a panic, that he's panicking. Do you get the sense, and I want to be as charitable to Rachel Maddow as I can be. Not really, but I'm going to do it just for the sake of the argument. Do you think right now Donald Trump looks like he's in a position of panic or weakness? Serious question. And Ed, if your answer is yes, I think he looks a little weak. Go ahead and tell your host that you think Trump looks weak. Go ahead, make the case if you think so.
I don't think so, Chris, no. I mean, he's meeting at Camp David. He has the big event at the White House yesterday. He's still pushing the big, beautiful bill. Every time he's asked about it, he's just quick, pithy, like, we're going to protect the people of California. So, no, I don't think he's worried at all.
I couldn't agree more. I don't know how anybody else could see it. Rachel Maddow is trying to convince the audience at MSNBC, such as they are, that he's a king and he's a despot and he's in panic because his fiefdom is under attack from the serfs. They're trying to make this out to be the French Revolution, and Trump's the king that we're about to behead. Figuratively, I say. That not them. I actually think, Kathy Griffin, Exhibit A. But my point is, in their minds, they tell themselves that while we're watching this manufactured tripe on Made for Cable News and on your social media feed, that this is the people's movement. Much like some of them tell themselves that the college campuses full of anti-Semites and Islamists was a movement of the people, and that it was speech, and that we ought not do anything to curtail their speech. This is, can you hear the people sing? I mean, they think this is like a Broadway play playing out in Los Angeles, is what people like Rachel Maddow tell themselves and their audience. But people like Chuck Todd, people like Jake Tapper, some of the more traditional lefties who have just been through a shellacking in 2024, they realize what happened. I think they see the optics. I think they understand 80-20 issues. And so what are they doing? They have a very different perspective. Rachel Maddow, while she says, Trump's in a panic. He's scared of the folks. The people are uprising and the king can't handle it. Not the others. Did you catch what the others were saying yesterday? Oh, this is really not that big a deal. Things aren't out of hand. This president is just making things up. Well, like Karen Bass, Exhibit A, 2402, if you would please, Paulie. Here's Karen Bass. This is nothing. This is just a standard run-of-the-mill Monday. We're fine.
Given the point where it has escalated to, do you think the National Guard is needed now?
No, I don't think the National Guard is needed now. Things in L.A. are calm. I will tell you that I'm saddened by the extent of the vandalism in the form of graffiti all through the downtown area. But it is important for people to know that even in downtown, this is isolated to a few streets. This is not citywide civil unrest taking place in Los Angeles. A few streets downtown, it looks horrible. People committed crimes. It is absolutely unacceptable, and those people that set cars on fire or did other forms of vandalism will be sought to be arrested and prosecuted. This is not the way to promote a cause like immigrant rights.
No. But it's really not any big deal. I mean, we got this thing handled. Didn't need the help. Thanks, Trump, but this is not we got this. It's all good. Over at the ABC affiliate there, ABC 7, a guy called Tim Caputo wants you to know, this isn't even really a riot at all. It's just car-burning revelry. Take a listen to 2404, if you would, please, Paul.
In downtown Los Angeles, or just a group that splintered off happened to find 5 cars that they were able to light on fire, and it makes it look like it's a lot worse than the situation actually playing out on the ground.
It's a great point, Jory, because that's the quintessential question when you have rallies, demonstrations, riots, if you will. I wouldn't go far as to call it that. I know President Trump had tweeted about riots and looting. I don't know that I would characterize it that way. But certainly when you have groups like this, from what we've seen, Tommy Pan over here to the left here, it's the vast majority are people taking videos, people waving flags, people walking around, people wanting to be part of the cause, wanting to have their voices heard, and wanting to show the power of numbers and the power of force.
Sure. And in 2405, again, they're just having fun. Who hasn't had some fun lighting a car on fire?
Large group of people. It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
It's just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn. Just a regular Saturday night at the Stigall house. Let's light a Buick on fire. They're scared. They want this to go away. It's the Stigall Show. Yeah, that's not cigar smoke you see. That is a fog hanging over the city of Philadelphia this morning. Listening on great radio stations like 990 The Answer in Philadelphia, home base for me, and where we'll be on the 24th of this month. I was just told that we have 10 pairs of very elite, very snoot-in-the-air exclusive tickets. 10 pairs left. That's it. You know, we're doing this cigar night in Philadelphia coming up on June 24th. That's a Tuesday night. And if you're in or around that area or are willing to make the trip, I'm bringing with me the guy just named the chief economist at Heritage. So not a slouch, not an assistant, not a dopey intern, the guy, the GOAT of economists at Heritage. And if you know Heritage, that's like cornerstone conservatism. So I'm bringing the smartest guy Heritage has identified in their view as their chief economist, E.J. Antoni, also a Philadelphian. We're coming to Philadelphia for this great cigar night on June 24th. That's a Tuesday. That's coming up. That's 2 weeks. Is it 3 weeks from today, Fast Eddie?
No, we're looking at 2. We're 2 weeks away, man. Oh, yeah.
2 weeks out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So 2 weeks from today, if you don't have your tickets, I hope that you'll go grab them because we're only doing 50 of them. That's it. They're highfalutin. It's exclusive. And the reason we chose to do it is because we've done these in the past, and I loved them. They were a great deal of fun, but they got very crowded. And it was hard to get around to talk to everybody. And I always felt like, well, if you're going to take the time to make the trip and buy the ticket and enjoy the evening, I hate to not get to see everybody in what is a rather intimate space, the Cigar Republic, who's hosting us. And so I said, here's what we'll do. Let's just create a highfalutin elitist party. I don't like doing that. It's a very left-wing thing to do. I would love to open it up to everybody, but it's hard to find a place that lets you legally enjoy a cigar. EJ loves cigars. I love cigars. I said, let's put together a VIP package where everybody's a VIP package. They liked the idea, and so we have 10 pair left. That's it. And once they're gone, they're gone. You can get them at 990theanswer.com, 990theanswer.com for those of you that would like to come. It's, again, 2 weeks from tonight with EJ, and you get to ask him all the questions you want. I'll ask him several myself. But most of all, I can't wait for us to just be able to hang out. You'll get 3 cigars. We'll buy your first drink. There's going to be an hors d'oeuvre buffet. It's a deal. It's the biggest, best highfalutin ticket that I've ever put together as far as a live event goes. And we're going to get to spend time together because there's only going to be a handful of us in the room, really. 10 pair left, 990theanswer.com. All right? Let me get to a couple of... The gaslighting is so entertaining to me. I find it funny. Now, I don't know if it makes you mad. I laugh at it because, as I said, I know that these riots are an 80-20 issue. I know that Trump sending in the Marines to get control of Los Angeles is an 80-20 issue. I'm not sweating this. First of all, it's not real. It's performance art. Colonel Kurt Schlichter said that to us yesterday. Jen Horn said that to us yesterday. They're there. They live there. They're like, this is not most of the city, first of all. So in that sense, legacy media is correct. But the problem is hardcore leftists like Rachel Maddow are trying to sell their viewers and the American public on this being the people's uprising, right? And that this is just, these are people that just want to be left alone, and those mean ogre Nazi ICE agents came swooping in and ruined their fun and ruined their day. And if these mean ogre Nazi ICE agents would just go away, why then we'd all be living in peace and sweetness and light and harmony in Los Angeles. And having our usual fun lighting cars on fire, like we do here. Guy lights a car on fire just trying to have a good weekend, and along comes some ogre law enforcement agent ruining the fun. Right. Here's John Heilman on MSNBC. Not a big deal. 2407. Here, take a listen.
I think, you have seen, obviously, there's almost been like a linear effect here. It's like the more there's been any kind of, as soon as you get the National Guard, things escalated. Governor Newsom's right. There wasn't anything like a riot happening on Friday, Saturday. The thing that provoked this was not yet anything that approached riot standards.
This one. And then in 2413 here, Paula, here's Representative Nanette Berrigan of California.
Just rounding up people. There is no targeted enforcement. We know they're going to like Home Depot lots to look for people who are looking for jobs. They're not criminals, and that is the outrage that you're seeing. And I think that if ICE left, I think if the National Guard left, you would see this all die down.
Sure. It would all die down if we'd quit enforcing the damn law, everyone would settle down. That's quite a deal. Quite a bargain from the representative. Oh, but there's more. Sit tight. All right, a little more of the gaslighting. I'm just so enjoying it. I can't get enough of it. Representative Pramila Jayapal, Democrat, Washington, 2411, if you would, Paulie. Again, we've already heard from the others. If ICE just left, this wouldn't be a big deal. This really wasn't a riot. It was more like a gathering. It's just fun. People lighting cars on fire, said the ABC affiliate there. It's just people having fun. And ICE came in and ruined all the fun. This is not a big deal. Pramila Jayapal of Washington steps in.
Is injustice. So today we are here to say, free David Huerta!
Free David Huerta!
We are here to say, free the immigrants that have been arrested!
The immigrants that have been arrested!
We are here to say, end the ICE raids!
End the ICE raids!
We are here to say, stand up for our protected constitutional rights to free speech!
That's right.
To due process! To a democracy that works for all of us! Thank you so much, everybody! Let's keep this up because the people unite! united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be.
The people, I think there was a guy behind her that was actually trying to lead the chant correctly. Now, I'm not one for leftist activist chanting, but isn't it the people united will never be divided? But she just kind of owned it there, Fast Eddie. She went with defeated, and I think she just kind of went in with it, decided to sell it like she meant to say, the people united will never be defeated. Or she doesn't like the original chant, which I do think is the people united will never be divided. I think that is the original leftist chant, if I'm not mistaken. But the fact of the matter is division is exactly what the left likes. So maybe Ms. Jayapal doesn't like that word because she likes division. She doesn't. To never be divided is the antithesis of what Democrats believe, actually. So maybe that made her uncomfortable to say we'll never be divided because that's exactly what she wants, total division.
I don't know, man, because I just think that they were all thinking different things, and maybe she thought it was stuttered. So that could be. She might not like the line, but she could also have been trying to change the lyrics, and everybody else was like, no, that's not the lyrics, ma'am.
The people united will never be defeated. I don't think the people united will never be divided. Okay, well, anyway, it may be a minute point, but in truth, that division is what the Democrats sell, of course. So the word division is a very positive thing for people like Representative Jayapal. This continued with, of course, why not, the NEA president. Rebecca Pringle had to weigh in on this even, because this is who's in charge of leading the nation's public school teachers who educate many of America's youth today. Consider that as you listen to 1242 here, Paul, the president of the National Education Association.
Enough of the ice raids. Enough of the cruelty and the hate. Enough of the division and disrespect. Enough. We know what this administration is doing. So we are saying to Donald Trump and all of his allies, we will not scapegoat immigrants.
That's right.
We will not. The people who helped build this country, we will not stand by and allow you to do that. I have no doubt that those of you gathered here today will embrace the words of Audre Lorde as we come off of a huge Pride celebration.
Yeah, that's enough. Okay. So she had to work Pride in there. Way to drive it home. She worked some Pride in, for good man. She isn't. Who was the last one? There was another viral clip of her a few years ago, shrieking into the ether about something, Fast Eddie. What was that? I'm trying to remember.
Man, that was a good one.
It doesn't matter. But these people just, you know how jazz musicians pick up an instrument and what do they call that? Scatting, I think.
Yes.
Leftists do that with screaming. Bobbity beep, bop bop scoop, bobbity boo boo ba. It's just the protest equivalent of that. Don't you? Like, I kind of admired in one sense the stylistic nature of it. She has no idea what she's saying. They kind of take these big pauses and they shriek and repeat what they're saying just to give themselves time to think about it. We will not! We will not! Because she's not sure where she's going, so she's got to scream it hard twice to give herself some time to think.
Yeah, but Chris, I respect the protesting. Like, that's fine. It's always fun to watch leftists do that. But what? She's the head educator in the country? Like, she's in charge of it all?
Yeah, she's the one who teaches our teachers to teach our children.
Oh,
if
Lord.
ever that... And by the way, if you didn't know, people who broke into the country illegally built the country. That's the head of the National Education Association. The people who built this country are people who broke into it illegally. We will not! We will not! Keep it up, sweetheart. Brian Stelter had this to say, 24/15. This isn't even probably really happening. All the fun car burning that you've been seeing, it's a couple of days old, what you're watching.
And I've noticed, Brianna, we all live on our phones these days. We're all scrolling through social media. You've got to be careful at a delicate moment like this to look at the timestamps, look at the dates, look at when things are actually posted, and if they're really from the situation they're purporting to be. A lot of these algorithms are surfacing hours old or even days old content. So you might be looking at a video of something, wondering what's happening in LA. It's actually from 2 days ago. And that's, it only matters because it can give people a false impression of what's actually happening at a moment of unrest.
We will not. That's not even that's an algorithm. Rebecca Pringle wasn't even there. She was just that's days old. That was a different thing. She was shouting at something else. That thing you saw while you were scrolling through X or Facebook or Instagram, that was days old. Brian Stelter wants you to know. These people have got to go see a chiropractor twisting themselves in the pretzel they're twisting themselves in. I've never seen anything like this. And again, understand it's born out of their terror. This looks so bad. Rebecca Pringle, the head of the NEA, standing in the middle of people rioting and burning and waving the Mexican flag. We will not be defeated. Members of Congress telling ICE to stand down and go away. People like Brian Stelter know how bad this looks, and so they just start lying about this. Oh, it's mostly fun, and it's mostly old stuff. It's not even happening. If you were actually there, you'd know it's not even real. You're watching days old stuff. So now suddenly he's going to become the new policeman of the internet. This is going to be a fun new trick for the left. When they start erupting in violence, as they are so prone to doing, legacy media now is going to try to both show you the violence, to capitalize off of it, to get the attention and the clicks that they need, while at the same time telling you what you're clicking on and watching isn't actually real or happening in real time. It's an algorithm. Think of that. Fascinating. Think of the mental gymnastics that you've got to do now to both use this setting for clicks and views, but at the same time tell the people who are clicking and viewing on your products what you're seeing isn't real. It's not happening. It's algorithms and whatnot. I mean, it's kind of sick in a way. They're feeding the crack cocaine to the viewer or scroller on social media and then telling them it's not real at the same time. How's that going to work?
I don't know, because Jake Tapper just told them that they were all, covering up for Biden the last 5 years. So now they're going to go into this. They were already lying to the country before that we just found out in a book, thankfully. But yeah, I don't know if that's going to work now for the next 5 years.
We will not! Line. Trump's approval and right track numbers would suggest that this is the gaslighting that we all know it to be. It's an 80-20 issue. The people are with Trump. I mean, look at how Simone Biles just got ratioed over men pretending to be women, participating in women's sports. Thanks to internet sleuths following the money on this thing, we see who's funding all of this. The Democrats look like monsters, if not gaslighting deniers. We've learned since Occupy Wall Street and the BLM riots, we've learned free speech courtesy of X now, interestingly. Elon Musk and X is now the sunlight that has proven to be the best disinfectant. We didn't have X during Occupy Wall Street and BLM. We do now. And we're seeing common sense prevailing over these lying Marxists. The pictures on cable news or in your social media feed reveal incompetence and a total lack of care from the governor of California and the mayor. I mean, Los Angeles is already burned. They have nothing left to rebuild. It's incompetence and neglect. And it's not a winning narrative. Trump's not backing down here. He has all the leverage, and polls suggest the people are still with him. If you're a betting person, bet on Trump, because Democrats don't have the cards. Where, I will tell you, people have become lifetime members of the Harumph Society this week. Also have the big Father's Day. I gave away the Harumph Society yesterday. I gave it away. I was feeling charitable. I was in a good mood. Everybody was being so nice. Everybody was in good moods yesterday. I don't know what it was. There was something positive in the air. And so I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to give open access to everybody. So if you're curious about the Harumph Society, you're like, he talks about this thing all the time. Is it worth it? Well, the fact of the matter is, I think it is. But just in case you're doubting it, I said, why doesn't everybody just peek under the hood and see what you think about it? So I gave it away yesterday because the news was just overflowing. So go check it out. Go to chrisstigall.com and click on the Hump Society and see what you think about it. Now, those of you who are already subscribers, founders in particular, you're on the founders wall. You know who you are. The thing's not possible without the founders. They're the undergirding of the entire operation. But because Mother's Day, I had the big sale, $30 for the whole year, I said, well, okay, I'll do it for Father's Day because I can't leave dads out. I'm a dad. So this week we're also doing the Father's Day sale. The show accountant is furious with me. I keep giving it away. He said, Stigall, we're not going to be able to keep the lights on at this place. You keep giving it away. I said, I just want people to read it. I don't care. Whatever. I'll fund it myself if we have to. Doesn't matter to me. I just enjoy it. I enjoy like-minded folks hanging out in the comment section, reading what you think. No trolls like social media. So it's at chrisstigall.com, and it's a sale this week if you want to join us. Check out yesterday for free. And I will tell you this. All of you who have helped with the Angel Tree, and I'm going to talk a little more about this, the Angel Tree Camp campaign, everybody that has given $1,000 becomes a lifetime subscriber to the Hump Society. And you've got just a little more time to do that if you're so inclined, which you can go to chrisstigall.com and click on the link and give. You give $1,000 to an unbelievable charity, and you're a lifetime subscriber to the Hump Society. That's angeltree.org/Chris, or you go to chrisstigall.com, and you can donate today. Or call them this morning if you want to do it that way at 888-206-2794, 888-206-2794. We're closing in on it now. We just got, we're 100 kids away, 100 kids away from the 455 student child goal, camper goal. Now, this is remarkable because each camper is $200. That's what the good people at Angel Tree Camp have figured out the best way to squeeze every nickel they could possibly get, and they have come up with a $200 price tag. This is, again, it's not a money-making venture, folks. This is a ministry to help kids whose parents, through no fault of their own, are incarcerated, one, sometimes both. These are kids that have maybe nothing else going on in their lives. And the one opportunity they have in their entire lives is through your gift to go to camp. Fresh air, fun, swimming, most of all, a Christ-centered message. You can impact one of these kids for the rest of their days. And in fact, you can hear some of the testimony. We've been letting you in on some of it, like Rochelle from Angel Tree. Very, very inspired so far by the generosity of this audience. Take a listen.
When you get to Angel Tree Camp, you are making changes for generations. I've been at camp for 15 years, and I've seen kids come through, and they will be the last in their generation in broken homes and in drug addiction. I've seen it. I know these kids personally. Their entire lives are changed. Their kids' lives will be changed. And the gift that people give, so it truly is an investment, and the impact grows and grows exponentially.
So $1,000 makes you a lifetime member at the Hump Society. Not why you do it. It's just a little thank you from me to you for helping me get there, because that's 5 kids. If we could start doing that, I mean, we're 100 kids away with the closing days of this campaign. This audience is going to get it done. They've set a remarkable goal of 455 kids to camp, and this audience is about 100 kids away from getting that goal met. And it just blows me away, your generosity. Touching these children's lives for the good, maybe permanently, is what your generous gift can do. $5, $10, whatever. If you can't do $200, do whatever you can. Couch change, I don't care. 888-206-2794, chrisstigall.com. Click on the link at the very top of my website and give that way today. I hope that you will. We're really closing on an amazing, amazing cause. Let's go to Barb in Ohio. Barb, I'm sure glad you called. Welcome into the show. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Chris. And hey, who doesn't like a good barbecue on the weekend? I prefer Chevy's myself.
You know, I am so glad to hear that. Just like me. Who doesn't? You're right. Like to light cars on fire for fun.
Yeah, come on. Hey, you know what? I'm with Trump on stopping these riots, because you know what's going to happen? They're supposed to host the Olympics. And they're going to come, as soon as the city burns down, they're going to come to the federal government going, oh, yeah, we need money to make it shine. And it's like, I'm sorry. Just stop it now.
Yep. That's a great point. And so you think Trump should he invoke the Olympics and say, you want money for the Olympics, you better knock it off? Something like that?
Yeah. I mean, that would be great. I mean, Look at the other cities that burned to the ground because he didn't step in his first term. And it's like, this is the right thing to do. And everybody knows it's the right thing to do. Stop it before it starts. You know, hey, I wouldn't mind seeing Gavin Newsom in jail. Lincoln threw the Ohio governor in jail during the Civil War. Let's put him in jail.
Barb, thank you. Listen to 2410 here, the CNN panel, very flustered after Trump calls them insurrectionists.
What does your intel tell you about these people causing all the problems in LA? Are they people ICE is trying to deport, or are they professional agitators?
The people that are causing the problem are professional agitators. They're insurrectionists. They're bad people. They should be in jail. Thank you.
It's like you queued him up, Priscilla. That word he used, they're insurrectionists. That I can't imagine that was an accident, because it seems as though that.
Yeah, no, it wasn't an accident. What do you call it, lady? They're lighting a whole American city on fire and waving a foreign flag. What the hell do you call it, Dana? A tea party? Fun, apparently. Everybody talking about the Maha movement, Make America Healthy Again. Balance of Nature says, welcome to the party. They've been working hard, producing a vibrant nutritional supplement second to none for many, many years before it became fashionable. So many other people use chemicals and additives for their supplements, but Balance of Nature is made solely from whole food ingredients. And while other methods sacrifice nutritional quality for the sake of profits and volume, Balance of Nature, they use an advanced cold process, a vacuum cold process. It includes freeze-drying their fruits and vegetables into a fine powder, and so that allows them to retain as much nutritional value as possible. And they don't cut corners, for volume or other things, as maybe some other supplements do. Balance of Nature packs a real nutritional punch, and that's the whole reason to take Balance of Nature. Get the most nutrition for the sake of your good health. And if you use my name, Chris, as your promo code right now, you'll save 35% off your order, and they're even going to ship it to you for free. Plus, a money-back guarantee if you're not happy. Call them, 800-2468-751. Use the discount code Chris. Once again, don't forget the discount code Chris for that big 35% off savings plus free shipping. Order online, balanceofnature.com. Here we are, 2025. Happy New Year, and our friends at Gulag America are back and along for the ride. They have been not only great sponsors, but they have been ride or die founders at the Harump Society. I am so appreciative for our friends at Gulag America. I love the work they do. And we have every reason to be optimistic in this new year. They are, we are, all of us are. America's resurgence, it's back. Trump's back. And Gulag America wants to continue to be your premier source for topical and satirical apparel and other gear designed to help give you voice for your love of liberty and your desire to see America great again. I know we all share that in common. Gulag America does too, but that doesn't mean that the deep state's not going to be busy at work. They're not going to go gently into the good night, as they say. So Gulag America is ready. They want you battle ready. They want you geared up, and they've got hilarious stuff for you to buy, and they're going to give it to you at a deep discount to kick off the new year. You ready for this? You take 15% off all orders at gulagamerica.com when you use my promo code Chris15. So if you go shopping today and you see a shirt you like, and you will because they're hilarious, go to gulagamerica.com, type the promo code Chris15. That's Chris15. Type it in the checkout, and then you'll save big. Enjoy the new year. Enjoy new savings with that same quality, that same hilarious attitude that you've come to expect from our buddies at Gulag America, where they say, it's not our wish, it is our warning. Hey, good morning to you. Welcome in on this Tuesday edition of the Stigall Show. Beautiful sunrise in Dallas, Texas this morning. Listening on 660 AM The Answer, home of our great friend Mark Davis, who filled in for me last week. Grateful to you, Mark. Good to hear from you. All of you in the great state of Texas. Not terribly far from our new sponsors, Patriot Mobile, who I love. They're in Grapevine, the Christmas capital of the great state of Texas, where I'm naming myself honorary mayor. I'm going to get myself a key to the city of Grapevine one of these days. I love it down there. I absolutely do. So one of these days I'm going to, I don't know. If I'm ever fortunate enough to have a vacation property, I might make it Grapevine, Texas. I just might. I might winter there. Telephone number 855-STIGAL if you want to get in here today. 855-STIGAL. You can find me online, find the Harump Society online, find podcasts all at chrisstigall.com or wherever you stream podcasts. And thanks for listening on great Stigall affiliates all over the country. In fact, we have some new ones. I just got note of this over the weekend while I was away enjoying some fishing. Asheville, WZGM in Asheville, starting next month. We're going to be a part of the team at 1350 a.m. and 96.1 in Asheville, North Carolina. Fast Eddie, how about that? Growing like a weed, this show, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, well, Chris, why do you think God made the sky Carolina blue, baby? Carolina. It's one of my favorite parts of the country.
Yeah. They can't hear us yet there, but I guess I'm in advance. I'm welcoming North Carolinians. We have had tremendous growth in North Carolina, in Florida, in Texas, in Oklahoma specifically, but wherever you happen to be. Like Leslie is in Oregon this morning. She sent a very nice email and said, Chris, I have switched over to watching you for our morning breakfast. From 3:30 to 4:30, she's talking about on the Salem News Channel. Now, if you choose to watch us on the Salem News Channel, thank you for doing that. You can get the app and watch it anywhere you want, but if you have Samsung Plus or Roku or any of that stuff, you can always stream there. And she said, we watch you out here in Oregon from 3:30 to 4:30 in the morning for breakfast. That is an early breakfast, Ed. 3:30 to 4:30 in the morning? Well, wow. I didn't know anybody else functioned like that. I thought only us had breakfast at that time of day.
The good thing you know about that time of day out there, though, is they're actually cooking breakfast. So with us, it's just like, where's a Wawa, which I know
that's
original.
Right.
Sorry.
Whatever's wrapped. Yeah, you people in Oregon don't know Wawa, but that's a convenience store. Yeah. So anyway, she says, I'm always curious what people have on their sets whenever I watch on TV or on YouTube. These items reflect what you would like for us to know about you, or is it just completely generic as a decoration? Your background, though, very interesting, she said. I'm dying to know why the commemorative Dallas TV show plate. It sure looks like J.R. Ewing in the center. Am I incorrect? Please let me know. Always watching and listening in Oregon. That's from Leslie. Leslie, she's talking about that plate right there. Yes, Leslie, you're correct. That is a commemorative Dallas plate featuring Larry Hagman, let's see, and Linda Gray, and who played Bobby? Patrick Duffy, and Victoria Principal played Pam, and then Miss Ellie, of course, the late, great Barbara Bel Geddes. Dallas, for those of you that are newcomers to the show, one summer while I was in college, my roommates and I had one summer class. We had a whole summer to just do nothing. We were all rooming together in one little apartment, and we didn't have the class on purpose until middle of the day. So we didn't have to get up. We could just be layabouts. And so for that summer, there was a cable news or a cable channel at the time called CMT that was airing from start to finish a Dallas marathon. They said they'd committed to, I think it was the summer. I don't know if it was the summer, 1 month, 2 months. I'm not sure how many seasons there was at Dallas. But they basically said, hey, Dallas fans, watch it from start to finish. And I said to my buddies, I go, you know what would be kind of funny? These are the sorts of stupid things college kids do. I said, we should sit down and just commit to watching every single episode they ever made of Dallas. Because why not? 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that? So that's what we did. Every day for one summer is we sat and I watched every single miserable, and there were some miserable episodes. I mean, now you talk about a show. Seinfeld knew to stop doing the show early. Seinfeld knew it was time to pack it up and walk away when things were still good. Dallas didn't do that. Dallas just got ridiculous. But nevertheless, I still maintain one of the great, if not the greatest television villain of all time was J.R. Ewing, played by the late, great Larry Hagman. I maintain that is still true. In fact, you may also notice here, I have a J.R. Ewing decanter. He's got a removable, that's a whiskey bottle, formerly, not of mine, but I was given it a gift. And it plays the Dallas theme song. You take off his little cowboy hat there, and you used to be able to pour whiskey out of his head. So over the years, because I've told that story, and I have such an affinity for Larry Hagman and Dallas and J.R. Ewing, people give me kind of gag gifts in a way, but I actually enjoy them a lot. So that plate was given to me as a gag gift by my old college roommate one birthday year, and that was given to me by a colleague and friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, for Christmas a few years ago, the J.R. Ewing whiskey decanter. So that's the background, Leslie, just in case you were curious about the Dallas paraphernalia. That's why. So thanks for the email, and thanks for listening and watching out there in Oregon. Hey, I also, just a personal bit of news, if I could. It's purely personal to me, but it has impacted my life dramatically, and I wanted to share it with you. There is a gentleman named Dan Heppner, who is a dear, dear friend of mine, and also a guy that I have referred to over the years. For those of you that have been longtime listeners, those of you who are new to the show, you've never heard me say this, but I have referred over the years to the show's spiritual advisor. His name is Dan Heppner, and I met Dan Heppner years and years ago when I first moved to Pennsylvania to start doing mornings in Philadelphia. We chose a community just outside of Philadelphia to call home. And we visited several church homes as a family. And any of you who regularly attend a house of worship and you move to a new area, you know one of the most difficult things is to find a place where you feel welcome. I mean, it's one thing to assimilate in a school or a neighborhood or whatever, but if you value a church home, usually everybody's very welcoming, but you understand. For various reasons, you get used to one kind of church home, and then you go to a new community. There are things you got to, I don't like the worship schedule. I don't know if I like the music. I don't know if maybe the preacher, I'm not really, But you have to remind yourself why you go there, and that all the ancillary things aren't a really big deal. And you church shop, you hop around to different churches and whatnot. So we did that as a family when we moved to Philadelphia. We visited one particular church, and Pastor Heppner was an associate pastor there at the time, and he was also in charge of men's ministry. And after we visited and filled out the card that we'd visited, I will never forget, as a new guy there, maybe just a couple of weeks in the community, I got a phone call from Pastor Heppner saying, "Thank you so much for coming to our church. I hope you'll come back and visit again." I was so impressed by that little touch. I don't know if your church does that, but can I just tell you something right now? If you make an effort to physically reach out to people who come visit you, I'll speak for myself when I say that makes a lasting impact. There was not a single church that did that except Pastor Heppner, because that was one of his roles at the church. He invited me. We kept going, and over the years, Pastor Heppner kept working on me after my family joined the church. Come to men's ministry. Come spend Saturday morning with the men's Bible study. Saturday morning, I'm in my 30s, the kids, the activities, I don't know, I work hard Monday through Friday. I made excuse after excuse after excuse. And in my 30s, I was so full of myself and so convinced that I didn't need to do anything except go to church on Sunday. I was drinking like a fish. And Pastor Heppner patiently, calmly, kindly kept reaching out, encouraging me, inviting me. I eventually ended up attending men's ministry. And I will tell you that Dan Heppner helped change the trajectory of my life. Of course, what he would say and what is true is he gave me the full measure of a Christ-centered, Spirit-led, Spirit-filled Word of God study. This is a guy who taught me a great deal, who encouraged me to lay down my worries and my cares as a dad and as a husband and lean in to Jesus. He then ended up leaving that church and heading up his own church for the last 4 years. He was an associate pastor, but then he became the head of Glenmore United Methodist in Glenmore, Pennsylvania. Now, he is not Methodist in the way, I'm sorry to say, the Methodist Church is going today. But anyway, he retired. And Sunday, I meant to talk about this yesterday, but there was so much news to catch up on, I didn't get a chance to. So Pastor Heppner yesterday preached Sunday preached his last sermon from the pulpit, and it was moving and wonderful, and his wife and his girls were there. This is such a godly man. He was a cop for a while, he was an insurance investigator for a while, and then he went into ministry later in his life. He has changed the lives of so many countless men. His heart is for men, dads who are stressed out and at the end of their rope. And he's inspired me to talk with other men and be more candid and upfront about my walk with Christ, because men need to hear it. Uniquely, men need to hear it. Not that women don't, but men often like to do the lone wolf thing. They like to isolate. They don't like to spend time with other men, being vulnerable and leaning into the Word of God. Pastor Heppner has helped me break down that wall and taught me to do that for other men too, and to let your light shine, so that the glory of Jesus can be seen by all in the house. It's his favorite passage in Scripture. Pastor Heppner, thank you on behalf of all of your congregants for touching us for Christ. See you in a bit. Let's go to Pennsylvania. Talk to Marie, if she's still with us. Marie, I'm glad you called. Good morning. Welcome into the show.
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. I just wanted to respond to the comments of some of the people who were saying, oh, it's no big deal. We set a couple cars on fire. You know, it's sort of like a campfire and everybody's just having a good time. Well, as a former first responder, I really take issue with that. Car fires are really deadly situations. You have firefighters and ambulance personnel that have to respond to those incidences. And, you know, they put their lives at stake every day just, you know, for things that happen accidentally, you know, car fire on a highway or, God forbid, a house fire, something like that. But, you know, to purposely set things on fire and for others to make the casual comment of, like, it's no big deal, it is a big deal.
Marie, if I could refresh people's memories on this if they weren't with us, 2405 here, Paulie. This is the ABC affiliate, ABC 7 in Los Angeles. This is what Marie is referencing, by the way. Take a listen to this again.
Large group of people. It could turn very volatile if you move law enforcement in there in the wrong way and turn what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn into a massive confrontation and altercation between officers and demonstrators.
That was an anchor. That was a news anchor, Marie. Just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn.
Yeah, well, you know, cars have gas tanks, cars have batteries, and they explode at a certain point. And to just, you know, just disregard the life of those people that are going to be responding to those, oh my goodness, it's heart-wrenching. It's just heart-wrenching. I mean, you know, I've been to car fires. I've been where the transformer on top of a telephone pole, explodes. And, you know, I don't know. It's just,
I get it.
It's so upsetting. It's so upsetting. I mean, I love first responders. I was one of them. I mean, it's a hard job, especially, you know, volunteers who don't get paid for doing what they do.
Marie, I think what you're, yes, what you're articulating, I believe in my heart and soul most of this country believes too and feels that right along with you, which is why, as I've said this morning, it's an 80-20 issue that the Democrats are quickly and increasingly losing the American public because of what you've just articulated. Marie, for just a small token of my appreciation for your service as a first responder, if you don't mind, if you have email, I would love to make you an honorary member of the Harump Society. Can I make you a subscriber so that you can get that every day or every 3 days in the email?
Oh, that's very sweet. I mean, I haven't been a first responder for 30, 40 years.
Well, that's okay. Hang on just a second. I'm going to get your email, and you're going to get one just the same. Hang on. Always a thrill to welcome in our friend Bonchie. He is the front page contributor and a colleague of ours at redstate.com. And Bonch, I always love reading what you write. I often include it in my newsletter, the Harump Society, because it's always smart stuff. Let me go to Pam Bondi, if we could, as a jumping off point, because you've written about this at Red State. 2422, Paul, here is the Attorney General yesterday on some of the arrests they have made thus far.
We are going to protect them. If they will not protect them and prosecute people that abuse the LAPD in terms during a civil unrest under 18 U.S.C. 231, we can prosecute federally people who assault state law enforcement officers with a maximum of 5 years in prison, and we are going to do it. We are going to prosecute them federally. If California won't protect their law.
Yeah, that's, and if California won't do it, she says they will. Kash Patel, by the way, Bonch, says the Bureau is investigating the funding behind these riots, which is also a really positive development. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good to be back with you.
Of course. Are you, I haven't checked in with you on this for a while. Are you satisfied at this hour as I believe you're a Trump voter. Don't want to put words in your mouth. But as a Trump voter, are you satisfied thus far with the Patel, Bondi, FBI, DOJ, or no?
I think so. I mean, I've seen some complaints that they're not moving fast enough on certain things, but I think when I see Kash, give an interview and talk about the FBI and what he's doing, I think he's being honest. I have no reason to believe that he's suddenly become an apparatchik of the deep state, or what some people are, being conspiratorial about. And I think Pam Bondi's doing a good job. Certainly, when we, under the Biden administration, I think there are things we discussed, and different people that we think have broken the law that we feel like should be moved on. But I think it takes time, and you have to build cases and things. So to answer your question, I think yes. Generally, I'm satisfied with the job they're doing. And I'm certainly thinking. Let me add this. I certainly think
please.
With this riot, with the riot in L.A., the way that they're moving as quickly as they moved, and as fast as they're going with the anti-Semitism stuff to charge people, I think it's a night and day difference compared to what you saw under Biden.
I am intrigued with what appears to me to be, I don't know if you agree with the assessment or not, it appears that some legacy media outlets are pretty freaked about the imagery of this, and thus, I believe, why they're continuing to sell this storyline of, it's really not that big a deal. It's sort of a version of mostly peaceful, even though some of them have even said it's mostly peaceful. But they're saying this is not that big a deal, and I believe it's because they know how toxic it is politically for their chosen party. What do you say?
Absolutely. And if you notice, if you watch CNN, they never actually interview any of the rioters because they're absolutely stone-cold radical lunatics. And they don't want that getting out there, and so they're trying to minimize what's going on. You've got Brian Stelter; he's back at CNN doing his Baghdad Bob routine, and it is. You're absolutely right that they do not want this to get larger than it is, and so they don't feel like they can actually denounce the riots because that would be denouncing their base of viewership. But in the Democrats, their base of their party. But certainly they are trying to minimize what is happening, and I don't think you can minimize it. I mean, the videos are there, the evidence is there, the assaults, the burning of cars. That scene where they were throwing rocks and firebombing, I think it was CHP cruisers off the overpass. I think that came out on Sunday. I mean, that's scary stuff, and I think the American people are seeing that. And they don't like it. And so Trump moving fast with the National Guard, I've already seen some, preliminary polling that says that, that's very supported among Americans, and it should be. I mean, this is crazy. This is not how a city should be run. It's not how a state should be run. And I think Democrats think they can just lean into the anti-Trump thing and somehow win this narrative and this argument. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think it's going to backfire in their faces.
Bonchie is a front-page contributor at redstate.com. If you don't read his stuff, and you should follow him on X, too, because he's a great follow, at Bonchie. That's Bonchie. Bonch, the thing that I know is not maybe PC to say, but I feel is true. When cities are burning and Mexican flags are being waved, I can't speak for every person who's immigrated here legally, from the South, be they Hispanic or otherwise, but I do wonder how it plays in Black America. I have a funny feeling this completely loses Black America. That's my hunch. I have absolutely no proof to back that up, but I don't think Black Americans want to hear people rioting and setting things on fire and waving the Mexican flag any more than white or Asian or Hispanic Americans do. That's a hunch. You think it's an accurate hunch?
I think it could be. I mean, I'm looking at the videos, and I'm sure you've seen dozens of videos at this point. I'm not seeing very many Black people at these protests or these riots.
No.
So I think the base of this is wealthy trust fund college kids and illegal immigrants. I think that's the base of the riot, basically. There was just
like the college protests, right, Bonchie?
Yeah,
same deal. Columbia. I mean, it's a different version of the Palestine protests. Yeah,
that's exactly right, and that's what people need to understand. These are the same people. The cause is never the cause for the left. It is just a means to a Marxist end, and so this is the cause right now. Palestine is the cause in other days. And it's Israel is their cause one day. I mean, it's always something. Climate change is their cause another day. It's always a different cause because the cause is never the cause. It's about radical leftism and pushing towards radical Marxism. That is the goal. They're anarchists, And so you look out and you see and you say, well, these look like the same people from that Columbia protest, because they are the same people, or the same groups, and they're being funded by the same people. It might not be literally the same people from New York. It's not, but it is the same types of people, the same base of the Democratic Party that does this. And I saw a video this morning where a cop asks, is jawing back and forth with one of the rioters. And he says something, the writer says something about capitalism and colonialism and all this. And the cop asks him, well, do you even know what that means? And he says, yes, I'm in college. So, I mean, that tells you, right? Like, these guys are, they are. A lot of these people are wealthy trust fund college kids that just have nothing better to do than to try to play revolutionary.
Yeah, and they ought to get to church because their lives have no meaning. I mean, that's, when you raise a generation of men who have absolutely a hole in their soul with no meaning and no direction and don't know what life means, this is what they do with themselves. Bonchie, let me pivot to this weekend because, as you say, and I was making this point, this is theme week. Democrats pick themes. They picked Doge cuts for a while, the Department of Education closure, the Palestine thing. It's theme week. So theme week is Trump's a king, Trump's a despot, Trump's going to have a military parade. It's all going to coalesce on his birthday, the 14th, and there's apparently some planned mass day of unrest all across the country, they say. If they go through with this, I don't... Republicans still have their own battles to fight and try to get reelected next year. But I do wonder, does this play into future elections? Is this the kind of stuff that the American public will push back on and say we're tired of it? Or does that display the animation of the left and how in midterms a lot of us often kind of lay down and don't participate and the left comes surging because they're so crazy and wild-eyed?
I think it could be either one. I do think there is something to say about the fact that when you've got the left out here just going crazy, maybe like we saw in 2020 during the riots, and then they did fairly well in the 2022 midterms. I think there is something to be said about, the radicalism that goes into kind of mobilizing the Democrat base to go vote. But also, I would hope that when you see, cities burning like this, and now we don't have the excuse of the pandemic to kind of gloss over all of that. I would hope that the American people see that and they reject that. I mean, that's crazy. You cannot have this kind of stuff happening in major American cities or any American city, and think that you're going to have a country after that. That just doesn't add up. If you invite anarchy, you're going to get more and more anarchy. And so I would hope that the American people see the violence that's taking place and they thoroughly reject it.
I'm so intrigued. John Fetterman has popped off on this appropriately. Glad he did. Good for him. He'll have to consider re-election soon. Meanwhile, at the DNC, and you've written about this at Red State, Bonchie, who's a front-page contributor at redstate.com, there's real tumult because you've got Boss Hogg, the little cherub from Parkland, who's now their vice chair, and the guy running the DNC. I guess there's some leaked audio that says there's real consternation in the House of Democrat.
Yeah, and so that came out late last week, and so there's a leaked audio of a Zoom call where it was apparently several DNC officials, including Hogg, and I believe his name is Martin. He's the head of the DNC, and so he was basically just kind of spewing on David Hogg, saying, "Look, you've stolen my leadership. You haven't allowed me to be in a place where I can kind of set the tone and set the narrative for the party." And then he made the comment that, he doesn't even know if he wants to do this anymore as far as remaining the head of the DNC. So, I mean, that just gives you an idea of the kind of backbiting and infighting that's going on within the Democratic Party, even as they try to put this, unified anti-Trump, anti-Republican face for the American people. They're in turmoil, and they've got their more establishment wing of the party that Martin would represent, and then they've got the absolute radicals that someone like Hogg represents, and they're butting heads. And it's going to be a hard coalition to keep together.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Like, your choice now as someone who's relatively sane and has voted Democrat is David Hogg, AOC, Bernie Sanders, or Trump, who used to be a Democrat. But it's almost like Democrats are driving people into Trump's arms. Bonchie, I'm so grateful for your time, my friend. Thank you. Redstate.com and Bonchie Red State on X. I didn't add all that. At Bonchie Red State on X. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Let's go to Mike in Illinois. Mike, I'm sure glad you called. Welcome in. Hi.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to talk about a little bit about the projection that I see happening more so in the Democrat Party. We've seen it in the James case where she was the one that was actually conducting the mortgage fraud, but she projected all her crimes upon Trump. Then we see it with all the top leadership, projecting their own guilty feelings and their own guilty ideas onto the Republicans. I also wanted to point out that, in 1945, Truman, under, I think it was Operation Paperclip, he allowed the Nazis to come into our country. In fact, he brought them here. And as we know, that immigrants that come to the country under the political party's umbrella usually join that party. And I can only imagine the kind of strategies that were brought with that. And we also see that today. So it's the divide, the conquer, the demonize, the weaponize of our government against the people. And it's scary what's going on. And as a political science graduate student, I've wrote a lot of papers about this, so I feel pretty confident in what I'm talking about and what I'm
Do you
seeing.
think, if I may, Mike, I don't disagree with anything you've said. Do you think in the information age, has their leverage lessened? A guy like Trump's leverage has increased because, frankly, because we have the ability to talk on nationwide shows like this one. People can access information on X now. Do you think people are less inclined for the rope-a-dope of the left than they used to be?
Well, that's a great question, and I've wrote papers on that where I think that a lot of that is Stockholm syndrome. It's masking the vision of the left's voting base. They can no longer see the reality of it. They're being lied to, and they accept those lies on their face value, which is what the Nazis did. They lied to their people straight. So that's
Mike,
kind of my answer on that.
That's smart stuff, Mike. I appreciate it. Hang on the line just a second. I'm going to make you a harumper. I'm selling the Harump Society this week for $30 for the whole year for a Father's Day sale. I'm only doing that through the week, so check it out. Go to chrisstigall.com. Let me go to Joe in Philadelphia. Joe, I'm glad you called. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Chris, I told you last week we were going to do a collection for the Angel Tree, and we wound up Sunday afternoon. We counted it up. We got $434.52 together. So that's going out this week.
Who do I thank? Who are the people you work with? I mean, if you don't want to tell me specifically.
Me and a couple old timers. We just passed the hat, shake some people down at the VFW. I mean, we ended up at K&A. We went into the belly of the beast down there just for the heck of it on Sunday afternoon with a little bucket, and one of the homeless or the drug addicted, they come over and they start yelling. I'm like, oh man, we're not going to get out of here. But they came over. And they gave $1. They gave change. They're telling us how they haven't seen their own kids in years. And we got $18 in change from down there, but it was like $1 million, Chris. I mean, that was we could not believe it. And if I may, Chris, one more thing. We heard your bumper over the weekend saying that your friend texted you and couldn't understand what Joe was talking about when he said, Elon, stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Can I explain that real quick? Here you go. For our American beta men. Right. Hey, Elon, stay in that AI kitchen and make some noise with those pots and pans. Leave the security of the house to the man who gave us blood, sweat, and tears and took a bullet for it. I hope that explains that.
Joseph, you're always on point. Thank you, my friend. That's Joe in Philadelphia. What a thing. Over $400 raised for the Angel Tree Camp. Thank you, Joe. Thanks for giving. That is so huge. We're closing in on it. We're closing in on this tremendous mission. 455 kids who have incarcerated parent or parents in very, very rough communities around the country. This mission, this ministry, partnered with us to try to get 455 kids to camp. It's $200 a kid for a week of great camp, a gospel-centered camp. Can you help? Joe and several people stepped up to do it. chrisstigall.com. Click on that banner. I hope you can give. It's been my pleasure and honor to talk about Bob Spinato at Williamsburg Dental in Broomall, just off the Blue Route, as my dentist and friend of over 12 years now. But now he has two brand new associates, his daughter Alexa and Dr. Geddes. Tell him about him, Bob.
Yeah, it's really a thrill for me to have both the dentists, my daughter and Dr. Jared Geddes, one of the things that I love about them both is when they don't have a patient in their chair, they're in my room watching what I do and trying to learn from me. And we hear enough about the new generation, and they think they know everything and they don't want to work. And I've got two dentists who are really, really want to learn and really, really willing to work hard. And I enjoy learning from them. They brought some new skills and some new technologies to our office that will be great benefits to our patients. And so, if anything, I think that having them both there is going to expand and lengthen my career as opposed to shorten my career.
Pick up the phone or go online, make that appointment, 610-353-2700 or williamsburg-dental.com. Hey there, it's Chris from my good friends at Texas Bullion Exchange, the good people that tell you there is no reason to live with all of this angst and anxiety about the markets going up and the markets going down. Why don't you just do something that has helped people calm their nerves in volatile markets for years? Texas Bullion Exchange, real physical gold as part of your savings. That's what they do. It's not about getting rich quick, mind you. It's about helping protect what you've already earned. And if you join Texas Bullion Exchange's Principal Protection Program, you're going to get 3% bonus in silver on your entire gold portfolio. Now, this program protects the value of what you've earned. So when you put it into gold and then it's time to sell, you get back what you paid. Never less. In fact, usually it's more, but it's never less. And isn't that reassuring? This program protects the value of your gold. Take the pressure off. You and your loved ones can face the future with confidence when you put gold in your savings and claim your 3% in bonus silver when you do it. 855-839-2728 is their number. 855-837-2728. Or visit buytexasgold.com. Again, 855-839-2728 or buytexasgold.com. It's Texas Bullion Exchange. Experience, integrity, and value. What a thrill to be with you today as we look live at our nation's capital. A live shot there of this is the Washington Monument, of course. Jefferson Memorial there, off in the distance. Thanks for listening on 570 AM WWRC in Washington, D.C. However you consume this show, whether it's on our great radio station affiliates all over the country or on the Salem News Channel, we're thrilled to have you here. If it's on the podcast, we're grateful you listen to it after the show. Or if you want to go back and refresh, like when we have Sean Spicer, the great Sean Spicer, the former White House communications director himself, spokesperson, and now host of his own wildly popular show. Whenever he appears, people always say, I want to go back and hear that again. Well, you can do that on the podcast. And he's back with us. We had a little technical snafu yesterday, Sean. Thanks for being willing to come back and do it again. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I didn't know when I signed that contract with you that there were so many provisions and clauses. But yeah, I said, you know what, the heck with Stigall and Eddie. And they said, do you know what the contract says? Read page 47, clause 16, section A. And they said, you must read. And I said, this is insane. How did I ever get this by my attorney? And then they said, you use LegalZoom. And I said, oh, yes. Anyway.
Got to get another pitch in there. Well done. Bravo.
Right. And by the way, please sign up for the Harum Society. Now, I found out that was also in there as well.
Yeah, I got more to sell you if you want, by the way.
Hey,
just
can I ask
me. I'll tell you all day long.
I know this is the Chris Stigall show, and you got like a ton, but I'm going to hijack it if I can. So I do this thing called the morning meeting every morning on my YouTube channel at 9 a.m. And one of the things, it's Mark Halper, myself, and Dan Turntine, and it's an analysis of what's going to happen in the day. We always start with the day book. What's the president going to do? And Mark will always look at the pool and say, who's in the pool today? Is there anything we should know about the media outlets that are there? And today, there's an outlet called The Lion. And I got to be honest with you, I've been doing this 30 years. I'd never heard of The Lion. So
it's
last
new.
night,
yeah.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, hold on, Stigall. Quiet down. Right. I'm gonna get to you.
All right. Sorry to interrupt the Sean Spicer show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you have my... Anyway, and I go down this rabbit hole, and then it's the Herzog Society, and I'm like, wow, I've heard of that, and I'm impressed. I mean, I actually knew some of the people on the board, and I mean, just stature-wise, not like a buddies with them. And then I keep clicking, because that's what I do. I'm a clicker, and I go down rabbit holes, and I go down and down, and sure enough, I find out that you are some big poobah in the Herzog. I didn't know that. I mean, seriously, what else do you do? You're like... a bunch of these guys who have like Dan Abrams, like he's crime show. He's ABC's legal correspondent. He got a line. I'm like, this is like Chris Stigall on the right.
No, listen, the Herzog Foundation, I'm glad you mentioned it. The Lion is a media entity and a creation of the Herzog Foundation, which is new, and the foundation exists to grow Christian education all across the country. And my wife and I got partnered with them a few years ago to start doing a podcast. I now contribute to their news outlet called The Lion, and I am thrilled to be affiliated with the Herzog Foundation. That's not a pitch. That's just to tell you they do great work. If you're a Christian educator, research them because they exist free of charge to help you out.
I know. Like I said, I did. I went down that rabbit hole last night, and I was impressed. It's very cool. And, but again, I was proud of the work that you're doing. But B, I'm like, dude, does this guy sleep? Because, I mean, honestly, you're a hustler, man.
Well, thank you, brother. I do.
Larry O'Connor, I got to be honest with you. In WMAL, Larry O'Connor, he gets up, he mails it in every day. The guy literally X.
Well, he had to, and he married a much younger woman just to make him feel a little better about himself, So he's kind of a sad sack case.
I mean, let's be honest, Meredith runs the show. But that's what I'm saying.
Of course.
He mails it in every day, and I'm going, Stigall, man, this is a guy who works. He hustles.
Sean Spicer hosts his own program, which you got to catch. And by the way, I was told I'm going to be a guest on soon. I'm thrilled. Thank you for continuing to invite me.
Again, it was in the contract.
Morning meeting.
I got to read these things.
The morning meeting got rave reviews a couple of weeks ago. I was reading because you guys discussed Elon, I think, in either the pending dust-up or what was going to come out of it. I think you either predicted it coming or what was going to come out of it. Let me ask you, because we haven't talked. What now? What now? Trump, Elon. How do you see it?
First of all, just real quick plug on that. The thing that I love about the morning meeting is myself, Mark Halper, a guy named Dan Turrentine, who was Hillary Clinton's. We're not looking to beat each other up. This isn't like Crossfire on CNN. The goal is to give you insight and analysis, to say this is exactly what you just said about Elon, to explain the situation and say this is the most likely outcome. That's the goal, is to give people an understanding of the process, because when you turn on cable or a lot of shows, it's two people going after each other. Our goal is to actually explain what's happening, and Dan obviously played a very senior level of the Democratic Party, Hillary's finance director. He worked for Pelosi, and I obviously worked for Trump in the RNC. But what I said about Elon is that, like, a couple things. One, no one ever dies in Trump world until you're buried. That's just the reality. I mean, we've seen enough people kind of resurrect themselves and get back in the good graces of the president. So, but I think Elon's in a different category. He's the world's richest man. He's a very successful businessman, and he doesn't take well to groveling. So I liken this to, at the time, we were talking about it, and I said, look, the way I think this thing plays out, they both need each other to some extent. But this is going to be like two bros who get into a big blowout over some stupid thing, and neither one of them wants to apologize, but sort of takes the temperature down and then sees each other at the neighborhood barbecue 6 months from now. It's like, hey, man, what's up? And they're not going to be they're not going to be buddies again. I mean, maybe they will, but I think the goal right now is everybody went and said, hey, this isn't good for either of you. Just stop. Yeah. And Elon,
apparently they did have a phone call. I'm told they had like a half-hour call yesterday or the weekend.
Oh, maybe late yesterday. As far as I know, the president, as of midday yesterday, said if he wants to call, he can.
Okay.
But I know some of their intermediaries spoke to each other, and that's when you saw Elon peel back some of these tweets. And then obviously he's now putting up flag emojis in support of the president's leadership out there in LA. But to be honest with you, look, two things. One, this is a 90-95% Trump movement. And Elon found that out the hard way, because he went out there and thought, hey, maybe it's 50-50. And he realized real quick, no, dude, you're in Trump's party, not the other way around. And I mean, not necessarily political, but I'm just saying it's his party. If you want to come, you can, but you're not the host of the party.
I was on a call about this yesterday when somebody said, well, I think Elon, I think it's Trump's party, much like you said. And the only thing I would just gently offer is not a pushback, but I have heard lots of incoming from this audience. Elon and this Doge movement and all the waste, fraud, and abuse he's identified, people feel like the effort was misleading with the big, beautiful bill, which I understand, but I think people are mad. They want waste cut, right? And they don't see it happening.
So a couple things, but that point two was this, and I am an example of point two. I don't know that Trump would have still won, full stop, right? But
Yep.
What Elon did for X and allowing that platform to exist for people like me and you to post, to get ideas into the public discourse, to support contrary ideas and push back on the left-wing narrative and cover-ups cannot be overstated, right? So that in itself is worthy of some kind of humanitarian prize. Then what he did in Doge, equally, the guy took a ton of heat and a ton of arrows. So same thing. He is owed a debt of gratitude. My only point in this, Chris, is to say that you need to understand who's running the show. I was about to say who the daddy is, but it sounds kind of sick. But the reality is that, like, my point is that the only reason you can have a Doge is because Trump became president. So I appreciate, and I mean this as a guy that has been singing from the rooftops about cutting spending, making the government more effective and efficient. I love what Elon did. Some of the process.
Okay. I have 2 minutes, and I don't want to rush this, but I kind of have to. The big beautiful bill. Where does it stand now? Where do you think this goes?
When you're driving down a country road in Pennsylvania, especially if you're a Quaker in a cart, and it's like that's where we are. This is going to get bumpy.
The rumble strips.
The rumble strips, exactly. Well, you've been pulled over. And that's
I have. I'm sorry to say
that's where it is right now. We're on the rumble strips. We're still going to go off the exit. We're still going to land the plane. Whatever analogy you want to use, but it's going to be bumpy because it just has to be. But at the end of the day, the Republicans. This isn't sometimes they say in Washington a must pass. This is a have to. You admittedly lose the majority if you don't pass this bill because it's that important to President Trump's legacy, to the economy, to everything else. So it will get passed. It might be bumpy. It may not be pretty, and it may not happen on everyone's timeline, but it will get done.
All right, 30 seconds. Rescissions. How meaningful and important is it that Trump keeps sending rescissions to the House and that they pass it? How important are these rescissions?
Massive. This is huge. This is a shot. This is what we're all talking about. Doge is one thing. Finding him, getting rid of him, those things is another. And any Republican, there should be a vote today on the $9.5 trillion. If you are a Republican and you don't vote yes, and there may be some people in Pennsylvania that are in that category, there's no excuse. We've always talked about getting rid of NPR and PBS. This is the chance to get rid of the federal funding. So no excuses, boys and girls. This is it. Step up, show that you actually are deserving of the R next to your name, and vote yes. But this is the first step. Hopefully this process can be iterative and we keep doing it because the field of government needs to be tilled.
We're on the rumble strips. You heard it from former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer, host of the Sean Spicer Show. Today, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, and at Sean Spicer on X. Thank you, my friend. Always good to hear from you.
Hey, always a pleasure. Thanks for everything you're doing.
Okay, let me go to Terry Moran. I did not get to this yesterday, and I wanted to because it shouldn't surprise us. But when we're talking about the gaslighting media, what else do you expect? But from somebody like Terry Moran. An ABC News spokesperson has confirmed that they have suspended Terry Moran. This is the guy that just sat down not too terribly long ago with a very hostile hostile exchange, I should say, with President Trump. And he said on an X post, the thing about Stephen Miller is not that he is the brains behind Trumpism. He continued by saying, it's not brains, it's bile. Miller is a man who is richly endowed with the capacity for hatred. He is a world-class hater. So ABC News, appropriately, has suspended Terry Moran. Hate, Mr. Moran? World-class hate is what we're watching in the streets of Los Angeles right now. Love of country is what we're watching Donald Trump and Stephen Miller try to restore. Hate is opening up our southern border and allowing us to be overrun. Hate is grinding down our military defenses to a nub. Hate is putting the squeeze on the American public through inflationary spending. Hate is closing churches and closing schools and forcing everybody to take a shot they don't want as a means of earning a living, threatening the government, using the full force of everything from the Labor Department to the Department of Energy to the Department of Education to the IRS, threatening Americans if they don't comply. That's hateful. That's totalitarianism. That's extremism. That's the stuff of kings. Terry Moran. Stephen Miller and Donald Trump, they love the people who truly make the country work, and they're trying to give it back. This is the thing that just drives me crazy. They are so blind with rage and hatred that central planners are no longer in control, and understand their hatred for these guys is all rooted in their club under attack. Everything about Washington, D.C. and the Washington, D.C. set and the Washington media, this was their club. And Donald Trump and people like Stephen Miller, Caroline Leavitt, these masterful communicators have come in. They've kicked the door open. They have no intention of staying in this town. They are temporary stewards of it. They're there to do a job. They're there to turn the power back to the people, put money back in the pockets of the American people. That's what they're there to do. To secure our borders, provide for the common defense. They're only there for a short amount of time, and they're trying to restructure this government so that it's no longer a hateful, controlling assault on you and me. They're trying to return communications back to the people. They're trying to get this lunatic DEI stuff driven away from institutions that we fund with our tax dollars, often unbeknownst to us, and we're not given an option. Terry Moran thinks it's hateful to not be a central planner and force the rest of the country to do what the government tells you to do. It's so bass-ackwards. It's just lunatic stuff. You almost have to feel sorry for a guy like Terry Moran. To see someone like Donald Trump and Stephen Miller as the haters and to cheer on the authoritarianism that he's been cheering on for years and years under people like Joe Biden and Barack Obama, it's just as bass-ackwards as it gets. ABC News had to sue Terry Moran before Trump sued them and lost another $15 million. We haven't talked since the Elon Musk dust up. Steve Moore. It always seems like the good... we talk on Tuesdays generally, Steve-O, and then the week happens, and I have to wait until the following week to get your take on the thing. Steve Moore at the Committee to Unleash Prosperity. He has written a brilliant book called The Trump Economic Miracle. Trump has written the foreword in the thing. He named the book, and Trump believes he's got an economic miracle coming, incidentally, in this big, beautiful bill. So, Steve-O, that's the question. Elon took some shots at it. That's caused many in this audience to say, you know what, I think Elon might be right. This bill is a mess. Is Elon right? Is this bill a mess? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, I it's kind of amusing to watch the shots back and forth between Trump and Elon Musk, but it's also a little heartbreaking because I really believe that what Elon Musk came to Washington to try to do, Chris, was a noble effort. And he's a real patriot, in my opinion, for coming to Washington, looking under the hood of the car to see, how it operates and how it misoperates. And, there's no saying that, sometimes people come to Washington and try to fix the system, and they get chewed up and spit out by this machine in Washington that is, it's a $7 trillion enterprise, the biggest enterprise in the world. So I think, though, in the last few days, they've calmed it down a little bit, which, yep. and let's face it, I didn't even feel like the first time I heard that Elon Musk and Donald Trump were meeting, I thought, well, these are probably the two biggest egos in the world, right? And so both of them want to be the alpha male in the room, and there can only be one alpha male. So I think this was a little bit inevitable, but I'm just going to say that I think Elon Musk is frustrated by how hard it is to get anything in Washington done. He's
was he being unfair? Here's the thing. I think, and we've talked about this before, and it frustrates this audience. I hate talking about policy procedures. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Hate it. And this audience hates it. But the audience largely does not understand why cutting can't happen. And more cutting can't happen. And they don't like when Congress people say, well, hey, the Senate rules and we need the votes and the blah, blah, blah. People hate hearing that because they know Doge has found, more than $1 trillion in bloat. And so voters say, cut the damn bloat. And Congress people say, well, we can't because of procedure and votes and blah, blah, blah. Right. It's so frustrating. So what do you say to them, Steve-O?
I completely agree. And listen, it's, gone beyond Elon Musk now. You've got friends of mine like Rand Paul, the senator from Kentucky, and Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, who are saying, look, that I want to get the tax cut done for sure. And that has to happen. I want to remind people, if we don't get that done, we're facing a $4.5 trillion, economy killing tax increase next year. But why can't they cut some spending? I mean, I look at this budget, and I think you could cut these programs 10 or 15% right across the board, right off the top. And most Americans wouldn't notice it. And you're right, Chris. I mean, it's not just Elon Musk. The government's own auditors, their own auditors say that about $500 billion was stolen last year by fraudsters. And I don't know if you saw the 60 Minutes. I don't usually watch it, but I watched this segment. They had one of the main auditors of the federal agencies. She said she thinks. Are you ready for this, Chris? She said she thinks the theft and the obsolescence and the redundancy and the fraud could be as much as $1 trillion a year.
Stunning, just stunning. The CBO has scored this thing, and a lot of Republicans are mad at the CBO. Caroline Leavitt says it's a partisan group, the CBO. It was created by Congress, so you can assume it is. But typically the CBO is always called on as this independent body, and their score always matters. What if they scored something? So is the White House right? They're being partisans here. Some are saying that they're calling the tax cuts, which are already in place, keeping them in place is somehow a net loss of revenue. And that's the biggest objection. Is that right?
Well, I wouldn't say they're partisan. I would say they're incompetent. There's a difference,
okay.
And they have a model that they've been using I've been in Washington in the swamp for 40 years. I've been complaining about the models that they use. So in other words, when they don't see an action and a reaction. They just think that if you cut taxes, the whole world's going to be exactly the same. Or if you blow out the spending, the whole world's going to be the same. No, it's not. It's like, if you go to a doctor and he hits your knee with that little rubber thing, your leg is going to bounce out. So for every action, there's a reaction. They don't take into account the economy grows faster when we have lower tax rates. Chris, it's happened every time. A great book by my friend Arthur Laffer, everyone should get. It's called Taxes Have Consequences. He shows definitively, every single time over the last 100 years, we have cut tax rates. Good things have happened for the economy, but CBO doesn't take that into account. Now, Larry Kudlow and I, Larry Kudlow, and all your listeners do. He and I are good buddies. He was the best man at my wedding. We've recalculated these numbers. We think, actually, that if you take into account a few things, number one, the economy will do better, so we'll generate more revenues if we do this tax bill. Number one, we think that gives you an extra $1 trillion. Number two, people forget, whether you like it or not, and I'm not a big tariff guy, as you know, Chris, but he wants to impose a 10% across-the-board tariff. So do the math. We import $2.5 trillion a year. What's 10% of $2.5 trillion? $250 billion a year. So that's another $2.5 trillion they don't take account of. They're not taking account of all these things that would have, lead to a better outcome. So I'm here to tell you and your audience, I believe if we tax this bill, over the next 10 years, the debt will go down. It will not go up.
Okay. I heard Rand Paul talking to your friend Larry Kudlow last week, and Rand Paul effectively said, if I understood him correctly, I'll vote for this bill, even though there's stuff in it I don't like, but the one thing I will not vote for and I cannot tolerate is raising the debt ceiling. If we don't do that, I'll vote for the thing. So is that a deal breaker, raising the debt ceiling? And with 5 minutes, I know it's hard to teach econ here. What is raising the debt ceiling? What does that mean to us? And can it be done or not be done? Does it have to be done or not? Explain it.
Yeah, it has to get done, or else the government is legally prohibited from borrowing more money. So, if we want to pay the bills, we're going to have to raise the debt ceiling. But in most instances, Chris, some people say, let's just get rid of the debt ceiling. Absolutely not. That's like saying, that'd be like if you were in debt, Chris, on your credit card, said, well, just get rid of my credit card limit. Then I won't have a problem, right?
Then we're pushing wheelbarrows around with dollar bills in it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
For loaves of bread.
Yes, we have to have a debt ceiling. Yes. By the way, Rand Paul, I admire him so much. He is one of the few guys in Washington who really does want to get this budget under control. So what I would tell Rand Paul is, you're right. When we pass this debt ceiling, because we're going to have to do it, let's make sure. In other words, if you go to a bank and you say, I can't pay my debts, the bank is say, okay, we'll just give you another line of credit. They're going to say, hey, you need a plan to get out of debt. And so that's what Rand Paul is saying. Give us a plan. Show us how you're going to get that debt down. Right now, there's no plan. Now, like, Trump wants to do it, but I hate to tell you this, Chris. It's not just the Democrats. The Republicans like to spend money, too.
Of course. So ultimately, if Rand Paul is a no, I don't know what you're hearing out of the Senate right now.
He's a no. Rand's
I know
a no.
there are provisions in this thing. There are provisions in this thing that would surprise me if people like Collins and Murkowski go for stuff like defunding Planned Parenthood, and there's some other really actually impressive and aggressive things in this bill that we like a lot culturally, actually. But where do you handicap it right now? July 4th? Is that going to happen?
First of all, the bill will pass because when it has to pass, it will pass. So we're going to get this tax cut done, probably not by 4th of July, probably by the end of the summer. And then what I've been advising the Speaker, who I think is doing an amazing job, and the Senate leaders, okay, pass this bill now, and then later in the year, pass another bill that has all these spending reductions that we all agree on. I mean, why can't we get rid of all the Doge?
Rescissions. So could you start? Here's my question. Let's pass this thing, and then could Trump just start firing off rescission packages one after another, and Johnson and Thune say yes?
Now, of course, that's going to require Congress to approve these things. And as you know, the Republicans only have a 3-seat majority in the House and a 3 or 4 seat Senate majority. So they have a slim majority. I don't understand the Democrats, I have to say, and I'm not a rah-rah Republican, but every single Democrat in the House and Senate has voted against the tax cut. Every one of them.
Yeah, see,
so what they're saying,
opinion,
essentially, is we're happy with the $4 trillion tax increase.
Republicans can get out of this consternation over the big, beautiful bill, and I know there's some unhappiness with it, if they seriously and feverishly start firing away on rescissions. I think there's a nice rebound effect there. I think people like me would feel satisfied that they're serious about cutting if they show us they can do it right after they pass this bill.
Chris, they just announced a $9 billion. Now, that's a small number. But I guarantee you, Chris, there will be a whole series of rescissions coming out of the White House, and Congress has to approve those. They love to spend money. They don't like saving it. That's the problem with Congress.
Steve Moore is our chief economist. I'm so grateful for your perspective every single week. Please get the Hotline newsletter. It's free. It shows up in your email box every day. Steve often authors it. And the Trump Economic Miracle, his best-selling book. Forward written by Trump, by the way. Named by Trump. Steve-O, it is always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Chris. And if people want to get that newsletter, just go to unleashprosperity.com and sign up for free. Thank you.
Committee to Unleash Prosperity. See you, pal. By the way, they are in China as we speak. They, being the Trump administration, are in London talking with China right now. And I just wanted to quickly mention this from Axios. Negotiations usually boil down to leverage, specifically who has more of it. In U.S.-China talks that are now underway in London, the question of who has the upper hand boils down to the macro versus microeconomic picture. The slew of data out of China shows that massive costs have befallen China. U.S. tariffs have whacked the Chinese economy. And it underlines the economic weakness of China. The U.S., meanwhile, has had a run. This is Axios saying this now, folks. The U.S. has had a run of perfectly solid economic data, but stands a chance to lose much if China continues throttling supplies of rare earth minerals. Bottom line, China's got to come to the table. We're holding the cards. Just like in L.A., with China too, Trump's holding the cards. It's leverage, baby. Folks, I wanted to close today's show by addressing my lovely wife, Christine. Today, Christine and I are celebrating 25 years of marriage. And it's unbelievable to me when I look back and think about the fact that Christine and I came from very, very different backgrounds, and we got married at 23 and 24, respectively. But I met her almost 30 years ago when we were 19 years of age. And I will tell you, when we got married, these pictures that you're seeing if you're watching the Salem News Channel, I don't know that we all knew exactly what marriage meant at that young, tender age. We hadn't thought very seriously about what it meant, if I'm to be wholly honest with you. That meant a lot of selfishness and mistakes and self-imposed valleys that I think we'd both love to take back. Some struggles were our doing and some were not. And Christine also knew, by the way, there was one person in my life that meant more to me on earth than anyone else at that time in our lives when we met, and that was my grandmother, a woman with whom I shared every memory of my childhood. And if it was important to me, or it excited me, or it upset me, my grandmother was the first person to know. And for years, I sat next to my grandmother in church as she would hold my hand or pat my leg while we prayed or sang hymns. My grandmother was literally the first person to know every high and every low of my life, because no one could possibly appreciate or understand or calm me like my grandmother. And that remained the case for much of my marriage, too, if I'm to be honest with you. My grandmother lived until just 8 years ago, so she was around for most of our marriage. She was there on our wedding day. Christine would, in fact, later confess, I spoke so highly of my grandmother, she was intimidated to meet her, naturally. But the fact is, my grandmother adored Christine. I've never met a soul who didn't love my grandmother. And the coolest thing about all that is my grandma, as I said, got to know my wife and kids well before we lost her. And you might ask, why on your 25th wedding anniversary are you mentioning your grandmother? Well, it's because I can't think of a better gift or a way to tell my wife what she means to me than to say it this way. I dreaded the day that I would lose my grandmother, because I didn't imagine that I would ever meet anyone that could mean as much to me as she did. A positive attitude, warm, loving, comforting, nurturing, someone who everyone enjoyed being around, someone who calmed me, reassured me, made me feel like everything was going to be okay no matter what bad things came, someone I couldn't wait to see, someone I knew prayed for me regularly and loved the Lord with all her heart. And I now recognize that woman that I married 25 years ago has become the woman that I admire the most. She is the mother to our kids, and she makes it okay for them. She is the friend that people love to have around. She is warm, she is positive, she's a smiling presence, and her growth and her love for the Lord with all her heart, and the fact that I know she prays for me and our kids and our extended family and our friends without ceasing. The fact of the matter is, I never thought I would know pure love and comfort and fulfillment of holding the hand of my grandmother in worship in adulthood as I did as a young boy. But today, as a grown man, today celebrating 25 years of marriage, I am so blessed that feeling did not die with my grandmother. That 19-year-old that I met and married 25 years ago today has matured and grown into the identical spirit of my grandmother. Christine is now the matriarch of 3 children who want to sit and talk with her late at night, just as I did with my grandmother. She is the friend who has always had a kind word and smile for everyone. She's the woman who soothes my cares and always looks on the bright side, picks me up when I'm low, and believes in me when it feels like no one else does, including myself. And most importantly, Christine is a woman who has grown in her Christian walk, and today sits next to me in church and holds my hand and helps me to know that even when it feels tough and stressful and uncertain, she's the one that reminds me that it's going to be okay, because we have a true peace and contentment with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I didn't think that another woman like my grandmother existed. And it turns out God perfectly designed another spirit just like hers and put her in my path. And so, Christine, I thank you for being the next generation of the very best, of whom the Lord has blessed me and our entire family. Happy 25th anniversary, my love. I love you very much. Some pictures there. I don't know, as I look at those things, Fast Eddie, why in the world the woman married me. If you can, I mean, frankly, I'm more handsome today than I was 25 years ago, if I do say so myself. That guy, I don't know what that was. And there was no drug use involved. She wasn't under duress. She wasn't held captive in any way. That was all of her choosing, believe it or not. So there you go.
God bless you guys.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, some of that takes us back. I even had a little bit of hair. I was losing it there, as you can see it, but I had a little bit back then, 25 years ago. Thanks for joining the show. Thanks for being a part of the Chris Stigall program and a member of this audience every day. I'm grateful for you. Check out the Harump Society. We'll see you tomorrow. So that's a wrap for another Chris Stigall Show podcast. Thanks for committing to it, listening to it all the way through. You're a fighter. I like that about you. Hope you'll leave it a 5-star review and a written review. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We'll see you next time here on the Chris Stigall Show podcast.
The Chris Stigall Show podcast.